Mike Winters. And good morning. It is 22 minutes after 8 o'clock. And joining us in studio this morning, Brian Luck, Superintendent for the Roswell Independent School District, back with us. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Doing good. How's life in the district this morning?
Life in the fast lane right now.
Keeping busy.
You bet. We're up and running. Lots going on. Got 9 weeks out of the way. Got a big 40-day count today. Looking forward to seeing what our numbers look like. And we've got lots going on. Multiple activities, multiple events. Just finished up the fair.
Yeah.
Transitioning from late summer, early fall activities right on into your holidays. So we got lots going on.
Sports starting to get a little heavy in the fall sports here with not just football, but the soccer and all the fall sports are starting to get into district play and playoff start talking here. So it's a busy time for students, and then of course, with the holidays, their midterms, all that kind of stuff. They're it's a busy study time too.
It is. For them. So. It is. Oh, that
other part of school, learning things and stuff. But
yes, sir.
But yeah, what it sounds like, what I feel like, and we're finally back to a place where, and I don't mean to jinx everything, but the word COVID is not really in every conversation anymore. It's more about school stuff, normal, X's and O's of education. Not how do we do this in a COVID world. It's just how do we do it now.
Well, you've moved to a point where you can stop saying COVID, or you have to say, because of this or because of that. It's just, this is where we're at, and it's time to start going. And I don't know that we've ever really stopped going, as much as it was you had to always have that in the back of your head.
Sure. But there's a lot less limitations now.
It feels like it. Yeah. I hope we've turned that corner. I really do. I think for our town, as that goes with it. I mean, I really hope that we can put at least some of it, put it in the past.
Sure.
Learn from what happened, but let's put that in the past.
And this is something. And again, I'm going to say this: if I'm out of place, please inject that. But we are now in a place as a community where we've got to play catch up and recovery, because now that we're at a point where we don't have to focus as much on, we got to separate everybody and everything's remote or whatever. But there was a lot of things that did not get done in the last 3 years. And this gap of kids that served, and especially and it's true at every grade level, but especially at those early developmental grades, your pre-K, K, first, second, third grade, those ones where they're really getting that routine and that establishment of life as a student and what their job as a student is. We as a community need to come together and rally to make that happen, which in my opinion means parents need to step up and be more active and role in the raising and educating and making sure where if they're having issues in school, that you are a partner with your teachers and with the staff to try to, instead of being adversarial and trying to say, well, why didn't this happen? Sitting there and say, all right, this is what's wrong. How do the people in this room fix it? And we've got to get into that mindset, because if we don't, we're going to be doing more disservice to these children.
When you look at what happened, and again, we were talking just off mic a second ago that, a 3-year process for this thing to start and to get us to where we are right now. Now, you give or take year 4, something like that.
Yeah.
If you think of your schooling, there's not a 3-year block that you don't have some type of a major maturation process.
Sure.
Whether that be physically or mentally or anything like that.
All years of your schooling are monumental or benchmark years for these kids.
Well, and like our seniors this year, when we take a look at them, they were freshmen when this thing ended. Our third graders this year were kindergartners. The one that got me was our bring it on back. Our first graders were like, in the 3Y program, if they were even in anything at all like that. And if you think about, even just as an adult, how different your life has been over the past 3 years, we'll take that to like your schooling.
Sure.
And if we had dropped a 3-year block like that anywhere in there. So, absolutely, it is one of those deals, and it's something that each individual family will have to deal with when it comes to their kiddos. You know your kids. You have a decent idea if they are on track or off track. And no, as always, I mean, it's usually best to support first.
Sure.
And then, down the road, if things persist and there might be something to whatever it is that you're thinking of me, but I'm going to always advocate that we try to support it
Absolutely.
first. And for the most part, I would say probably, 80% of what we deal with is that the majority of our families have really dug in. A lot of them got to participate in the education process.
Sure.
And we've had several parents come back and say, "Oh my gosh, I know what you go through now, and I can't imagine 25 of this."
Wear their shoes for a little bit. Yeah,
I had 2 of them at my kitchen table, and they were mine, and I can't imagine this. So, and again, it's
moving because we all, and that's the thing. Like we all must remember, and I think this sometimes we forget that we're all on the same side. We're all wanting to make sure that every single child that goes through the doors of a school in the Roswell Independent School District comes out with a great education and a great opportunity to take whatever they've learned and go wherever they want to go with it and succeed. That's what we all want for these folks. And the people that you're working with, the people that are teaching your kids, the teachers that spend as much, if not more time with their kids as you do, they need our help just as much. And we all need to be in concert, working together. Those teachers bust their hump wanting to, and yeah, I'm being a little defensive because my wife's a teacher and I see what she does every day. And so I do come from that place. I'm well aware of that. I've got a little bias, but if we all have to be on that page of how do we do it together, and I guarantee if you come there trying to work it out as opposed to let's make heads roll, you might find out that you're going to get a lot more done and see a lot more rather than you coming in ready to why is this not happening? Why is this like, all right, first off, what your perspective and what the perspective aren't always the same. And we need to, and that's the stuff I know I'm getting in the weeds here, but my point is work together. The people in the classrooms, the people in the schools want the best for your kids. Work with them to help and talk to them and have good discussions. I understand we get in a world sometimes where everyone wants to blame someone for this or why didn't this happen, and we ain't got time for that. Yeah. What do we got? This is what we've got to deal with. We've got kids that need our attention, that need our help, and while you're bickering on who does what and where, that kid's losing more time. So let's get in there and let's fix what we need to do to make sure these kids are back on track.
Well, and that's the educational gap that we're looking at.
Yeah.
We were pretty fortunate, and depends on how you look at it. I mean, I think we were fortunate that we did go ahead and still use some of our assessments to make sure where we were, and because of that, we've got real time data.
Yeah.
A lot of the districts around the state are waiting until this year to really try to put forth something, and that's fine. But we know where we're at.
Sure.
And I don't know that makes me feel better. I don't know that makes me feel worse. I don't think it was a huge shock whenever we got our numbers, and
sure.
And so moving forward with that, now we actually can take back to our teachers. Okay, this is where they are. This is where they were. This is the material. This is the curriculum that you have. These are the supports that are available by the district. These are from professional development to side-by-side coaching to multiple levels of support for the teachers and for the kids. If you're having some behavioral issues, there's probably a root cause to that. I don't think they just walked in the door and said, "Today, I think I'm going to act like this."
Sure.
So we're really starting to try to ramp up our emotional, support, our behavioral support for not just for the in-class situations, but we have some classes that we've started offering with some of our parents. That hey, if you would like some parenting help, and not hey, we're going to tell you how to do things.
Yeah.
But it is just it's just some good theories, some good practices. So it's opened our doors a lot more to trying to be a better resource for everybody.
I can almost guarantee that every parent on the planet, when they first became a parent, probably like, what am I getting into? I have no idea. And then, you get overwhelmed. At some point, every parent gets overwhelmed or like this thing didn't come with an owner's manual. I don't know what I'm doing here. And so, yes, seek help. This is obviously, when you talk about the school district, who's better at working and dealing with kids every day than people in the school district? So if you're like, hey, how do they get my kid to do the stuff I want him to do in the classroom, I can't get him to do it at home.
Right.
Well, talk to them. Let's see if we can work on that. So there's consistent message at home and at school. You know what I mean? And that's probably part of the problem with some of this is if the kids get conflicting messages in different places, they don't know what's the right way to do. And so maybe some of that is being in concert with what's going on in school and saying, all right, let's take what we're doing here and apply that at home. And when you find that out, you start seeing the routines, patterns, and things start clicking, you know, and maybe that's the issue. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But that's where these sources can help figure that out, you know. Yeah. So take advantage of that.
Well, and I mean, I've spent my entire career from the age of 14 to 19. And, you know, give or take 25 years of being in that environment. And now I have a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old, and there's days that I'm just like, holy cow, wait a minute, this isn't supposed to happen like this. So,
right.
I mean, it again, there's not any type of a stigma to it, but it is an option. It is some support that we're opening up for the parents. And again, we're trying to pour as much resources into the schools for that, because I think if we had a thing right now that we're really trying to focus on, that would be it, because we've got them in the rooms, we've got everybody back.
Yeah.
We feel like we've got what we need to do in place. We know the timelines for it. We know how it needs to be done. And then you run into issues inside the classrooms, and that's what we're trying to clean up now.
Yeah.
So,
but I can tell you this: we've got a bunch of people busting their tails, doing their thing. Mm-hmm. Support them, help them. They need your help. They need this is, I know we joke, that takes a village, all that, but when it comes to these kids and getting, especially now more than ever as we're post-COVID world here, we all need to work together to help make sure we can provide the best opportunities for kids, because you're fighting, you're bickering, you're when you get into these adversarial scenarios, at the end of the day, the only person that's going to get hurt are the kids in that classroom. Yeah. So let's avoid that altogether, and let's do everything on our power to work in concert. And obviously, if you see things that are not right, don't stand up and ignore that kind of stuff. Right. But at the same time,
there's a process.
You may not see the whole thing from all angles. Therefore, from what you're saying makes sense from your perspective. But when you see all perspectives, you're like, okay, where I'm coming from does not make sense. But you got to understand that, and that's all I'm saying is let people and don't get me wrong, they want to hear these concerns and things, but when they say, well, it's not because of this, and this, understand they're not blowing smoke. This is there's other concerns we got to, for the good of everybody.
Right.
So, and that's where we have to kind of work together on. So, that being said, after, kind of getting down tangents and rabbit holes and what have you, the school board did meet last night.
We did meet last night.
Yeah. As far as meeting goes, pretty busy one, pretty light, somewhere in the middle, or?
I'm going to say somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
We, give or take about a 2.5 hour meeting, almost pushing 3 hours, but not quite. There's lots of business stuff. We had some policies that came up that we needed to talk about. An admin salary scale that we needed to kind of put the finishing touches on and clean it up after we did our teacher raises. So, just rolling through what we did last night. We partner, I don't want to say partner, but we support the board certified teachers. So that's something that if you're board certified, that takes you anywhere you want to go in the country, and that's
like an official seal of approval.
It's not just an official seal. It is a really high honor if you make it through that.
Is it like an equivalent of like the Dental Association? A dentist is accredited by the dent, something in that nature.
It's something along that lines.
Okay.
It's
a big deal.
Yes, and the teachers that do that, it's more than a dossier. It's more than. To me, it's more than the equivalence of a master's. It's a really big deal, and that's not everybody does it. But
okay, for us sports idiots, is it kind of like in the NFL? You have Pro Bowlers, but then there's guys that are all pro.
There you go.
These are the all pros of the teaching world.
I think this group right here has taken it upon themselves to go above and beyond to ensure that they have got what they need to be as successful in the classroom as possible. They're
the best in the business. That's what it means.
Big deal. So we had a quick presentation by them. They honored some of our teachers that are walking through that process. Had a safety update with our safety liaison, LJ Harrell. LJ does a great job He went over some of the things that we're doing. Some of the stuff that we can talk about is we've installed safety. It's a safety film on our glass. So like at the doors next to the classroom doors that have glass in them, or glass that is next to a classroom door, to try to prevent somebody from being able to gain easy access to the classrooms or the vestibules as they're coming into the building. We've got a company here and there working feverishly to get that done. I mean, we're talking 13, 14-hour days, doing a phenomenal job with that. We have 11 of our doorbell cameras that J&G Electric is feverishly trying to get put in as well. We've been waiting on that product for quite a while. So at every school, when you walk up, you'll have a door that'll be locked, but you'll have a button and there'll be a camera there. So whoever it is that's answering that inside, whether that be the receptionist or the principal, when you get ready to buzz yourself in, you'll, get your name, and they have an opportunity to see your face, perhaps maybe even show a driver's license. We haven't really talked about a standard policy with that. We're just super excited that we have the ability now not to have somebody have to bang on the door.
Sure.
And some of our schools, we've got a couple of them, it's a blind turn. So you would come out of your receptionist's office or your principal's office and have to walk around a corner. And can be kind of scary sometimes. I mean, you never really know what's coming around that corner.
Absolutely. Well, this is the world.
It's where we're in.
It is. And let's face it. A lot of these buildings that are schools in our district weren't built with the design of, let's make it as secure as possible. That this is a place of learning. How do we make it? And so now they're like, oh, by the way, now that the world we live in, we have to make these. So you're basically seeing every security weakness because these buildings weren't meant to be. They're schools. They're not prisons. And so now you're looking and saying, all right, there's a lot of vulnerabilities. What do we got to do to do? And this is where technologies come in and say, okay, we've got to make these secure because this world we live in now, and so it's great to see that, even though it's sad we have to do this, and it's sad that we've got to turn our schools into these security meccas, but that's the world we live in now, and it's great to see that. And I will say this, just because again I see my wife, and she's a school. This district's always done a good job, as long as I've seen it. When they do security and things, they work in concert with our law enforcement, the sheriffs, the RPD, depending on obviously where the school is located in the district here. But all of that is done in concert, working together. And and it's sad to see, the things we see across the country here. Obviously the one in Texas, more recently, is hit home a lot harder than others here. I like to say, this district, sure, is there breaches or things? There's always going to be things that, when there's this many moving parts, there's always going to be a weak link somewhere. But they do an amazing job of trying to stay ahead of that and doing that kind of, now that this world we live in, doing the best we can with what we got. And that's just it. I mean, in a perfect world, $1 billion shows up and we can make every school Fort Knox in a week, but that's fantasy talk. We can't do that. So
and there would probably still be a way.
Yeah.
Even with that, one of the things that Mr. Harold does when we do our trainings is we remind teachers, administrators, support staff, anybody that's in a building anywhere. I mean, we do our training even at our central office as well. A locked, shut door before something happens is one of the biggest deterrents to things happening inside a classroom, a hallway, a building. And again, it's so easy to point a finger or to say, see, look at this or look at that. I mean, you're still dealing with a human element. And again, you don't want, I would like for a school to be as warm and as welcoming as possible. And that's tough whenever you walk down a hall and every door is shut.
Sure.
And the first thing that happens when you get to a building is you're pointed into a particular direction and you're asked who you are and what your business is there.
Yeah.
It is a pretty heavy lift to ask of our parents. I will do that gladly every day, with knowing that why we're doing that is to try to keep the kids and the staff inside safe.
Well, and this is what, because I've, some parents have ran into things like, I'm trying to get my kid and it got a little tricky.
Yes, sir.
And you know what? and I understand you're upset because you just want to get your kid, but guess what? The priority right now isn't you. The priority is your kid. And they're prioritizing your child over you for the safety of your kid. So I can understand you're frustrated, but it's coming from a place of safety and love. And if you're truly the parent, we'll figure it out. Yeah. But if you do have a little bit of a gauntlet to go through to get through there, it's because your kid is worth the protection. And if you think of it that way, it's like, well, glad would you rather just roll in and grab your kid than later think, well, crap, anybody could have walked in and grabbed my kid and left, now that I think about it, and that didn't happen, did it? And that's it. So I get it. You get a little frustrated, but when you look at what we're trying to do here, you should be thankful, not upset. Well, and the way I see it.
We've talked with our principals and our secretaries at the trainings, and we said, okay, look, this will happen. You will have a parent that will have made a doctor's appointment and or they have made it for a long time. They just got it, whatever the case may be. The anxiety is pretty high because of whatever. They get off work late because the boss said this, or this. They're going to run up to the building. They're going to be, at a maximum amount of just give me my kid.
Sure.
Just try.
They're flustered.
Just try to work with them. And again, that's going to happen. We know that's going to happen because that's just the way things work.
We're always going to err on the side of caution in something like that.
Absolutely.
I understand it might be inconvenient, but if we don't, then we can guarantee you live to talk about it another day. If we don't treat it anything differently, we can't make that guarantee.
Well, the hope is that if that does, if you run into an incident where it takes you forever, you and your kiddo can be mad at us for like the next 80 years, and that's fine with me.
Sure.
Because that means that everything's okay.
You're still around to be mad.
You're here to be mad at that.
Absolutely, and we'll live with that one.
You bet. Walk through some 90-day presentation by Mesa Middle School, going over their data, kind of what they're doing. Had some presentations on some of our assessment from last year, our middle school and our K-5 from Mr. Bewley. Again, nothing that we didn't already anticipate, but just needed to share that with the board in a public forum. Went through some regular stuff, I would say, some bills and stuff, and then ran over some policies. And they were first readings, and so we did have a little bit of conversation about it, and that was a little later on in the meeting. So we have not had in board policy any kind of a medical cannabis policy as far as the how-to. So
as far as what staff and things go?
Well, it would be more the kids. So like if you had a student that was prescribed cannabis by a physician, what would be the process for which any kind of medication would be given at school should that have to happen?
Gotcha.
Because when
I would imagine if it's held by, say, the school nurse or something, that maybe that's I don't know.
But we didn't have anything set.
Okay.
So what's
the protocol there?
What's the protocol for that? And so our nursing supervisor Katie McLean did a phenomenal job and came up with a policy, a checklist, and a treatment plan.
Gotcha.
And came up with some actual documents that we're going to run through legal. We'll run it back through the board services that we use.
Well, it's considered anything with cannabis in it's considered controlled substance like anything else, right?
Yes, sir. But what was happening, especially at the secondary levels, like your high school and your mid school, is you'd have a student that would come in and say, "Hey, I have this card, therefore I can have it in my pocket."
Sure.
And
no, it's still a drug-free zone.
We would run into issues with that with the parents, and it's like, okay, that's not the way that works. And they'd say, well, show me where that's written. Well, we don't have it written anywhere. Well, now we're working through the process, and what we tried to do is just like what you said a second ago, almost more like a nameless faceless. It fits the same criteria as every other thing that we would give from the school nurse. It can't be something that's smoked. It can't be something that's edible. It can't be a gummy or something like that. It has to be a particular type of medication.
Okay, in a pill form.
In a pill form.
Or like a NyQuil or whatever. I don't know. Whatever,
I don't even
whatever they consider medicine.
Well, and again, it's very specific. It spells it out.
Okay.
So that
injectable maybe. I don't even know. Is that a thing? I have no idea.
So the deal with that is that this way you can also take this to a local medical provider and say, okay, if you really feel like this is what this student needs, you're the doctor. Literally, you are the doctor.
Sure.
But for them to be able to have it, if it should have to be administered at school, this is the format that it has to be.
Sure. Because any other medicine like that,
that's correct.
Being in the possession of the nurse,
Right.
and then the student would, in theory, when it's time to take their meds,
Right.
would go see the nurse. The nurse would distribute it, and,
Yes.
and that way the kid can't pop pills out of sequence, or in essence give it to their friends or do anything nefarious.
Absolutely.
With it, so.
Well, and there's a process for how you get it to the nurse, and what happens at Christmas, and what happens at the end of the year, and what happens if you don't pick it up, just like there is with everything else. So we wanted to put together a clean policy when it came to that. So that one took a little bit of time, just some good question and answer session with the board.
Because to me, in my head, and then again, I'm not the most qualified to answer this, but in my head, it's like whatever you do for like pain meds and when they're prescribed those types of things, policy shouldn't really be much different than it is for the cannabis, in my opinion. But
and that's pretty much the way it's going to play out.
Yeah.
I mean, without getting into the nuances of the policy, and that is the way it's going to work.
Gotcha.
So it was interesting. I got a call from a local TV station, and they wanted to know about that, and I was just like, wow, that made news. I was like, it's kind of a no story here, guys. I mean, we're
fishing to try to make to stir a pot.
Well, we're just trying to put together
and
something.
Marijuana in schools in the same sentence is going to stir a pot.
Oh,
every
absolutely.
time.
but again, our goal is not. Our goal is, even really, to be honest, it's not even so much of a preventative thing or anything like that, or a judgmental thing. It's as much as it is a, you know what? Let's go for uniformity and consistency across the board, and that's what we need to do, is to make sure that we're supporting our nurses, supporting our administrators.
And I have a wife that's a teacher, but I have no idea, and I'm just generally curious. For staff and administration, do they have the same style rules on that, or are they allowed to be more? Because obviously, if a teacher's been prescribed a pain med, do they have to go check in with a nurse, or do they just take it as needed, like they would at any? I mean, is there policy for that? I'm just curious. I have no idea.
Well, I'll take that back to your original question of okay, what would the policy be for them taking any type of other prescription medication?
Gotcha.
There's not one.
So
when we would obviously work with our staff when it comes to something like that.
Gotcha. I was just curious because I was thinking, because at the end of the day, these are adults. They're responsible people. They can manage their own times to take their meds and things. But if it gets to controlled substances, like something with codeine or something like that's considered a narcotic, does that change the rules on that in a school? Because technically, it's a drug-free zone, and if you're caught with drugs in a drug-free zone, fines and sentencing gets a lot harsher. And I was just curious about that.
Some of the new legislation that has come out in the last 4 or 5 years has not done schools any favor. I'll just kind of leave that one at that.
So
when it comes
there's
to
work to be done in this.
A little bit of work to be done, but at the same time, I mean,
just curious.
A lot of it you might not know that you don't know it until you don't know it. Until something comes up that says, "Oh my gosh,"
and that's the problem. Nothing will happen until someone abuses the policy and exposes that there's a problem there.
Well, and again, trying to be a little proactive with that. And then the last one that we ran through, which is some policy reading, was on Narcan, and officially having Narcan at our schools should we run into some type of an opioid overdose.
Sure.
We had an incident last year where we thought we had an exposure, and we didn't. We start communicating with law enforcement, and one of their comments was, "Well, do you have this on site?" And we did not. So started looking around, trying to find, as far as statewide, does anybody have something like that? Well, we now actually have it at every building. It is housed with the nurse. So, I mean, should we run into something like that?
God forbid, you hope you never need it.
I mean, it could be something even as simple as an elementary school student that picks something up that's got it, that it's laced in it.
That's true.
Or that the incident last year, we thought maybe perhaps one of our security guards in doing a search had come in contact with that. And so that was pretty scary. But again, our nurse has done a phenomenal job with, okay, this is how we're going to train. And ironically, with that one was in my head, if I just substituted epinephrine pin, an EpiPen with this, everything did fit just like clockwork.
Right.
So that goes back to your way of thinking. And it's something that we just wanted to bring to the board.
Sure.
It was a first reading. So we'll go clean them up, get them through legal, and get a little bit of feedback from our powers that be.
Good deal.
And that way we can have that in place. And again, hopefully that's something that we're never going to need.
Sure.
But never know.
But obviously, for folks listening here, if you've got concerns one way or another, please shoot an email to your representative on the school board. Go to the RSD website if you're not sure which one's yours, or any of them. Shoot one to any of them. And share your thoughts, opinions, and they'll be happy to kind of educate you or give you information on what they're leaning towards and getting you. But yeah, if you've got suggestions, ideas, or things or concerns, please reach out to your school board members and talk with them about it. So when it's time for them to make these decisions, they can take that into account. So think about it. There's that's how the process works.
Well, and last year when we ran through that, I mean, in discussing with local law enforcement, I mean, one of their comments was, well, why didn't you just do this? Why didn't you just use the Narcan? And we're like, well, we didn't have any. And they're like, we have. How many do you need?
Yeah, we can leave you some.
Because I hadn't paid a whole lot of attention to it, to be honest with you, and then started doing a little bit of research on it and the availability and what it does and what it can't do.
It saves lives.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, and
we can get into ethics later, but now the person's alive to talk about that.
I can tell you from personal experiences, when you're in a building and you feel like you've got a serious medical crisis that's going on, it feels like time stands still.
Yep.
It does not matter where you're at or how far away I've been. Right around the corner from the ambulance station or 4.5 miles from the ambulance station. It literally feels like time stands still. So we just want to make sure that we've equipped everybody with the tools that they need.
Yeah. So it's good to hear that. So we're almost out of time. Is there any other highlights we definitely want to make sure that we put on people's radar or talk about?
I'll tell you what, we've got a fair, a kind of a quasi job fair coming up on the 21st.
Oh, good.
We have that's the other part. Staff training. We're trying something different with our professional development this year. So October 21st, which I believe would be next Friday.
Okay.
We are going to release all students in the district at 12 o'clock. So they're going to do a half day.
Okay.
We'll still feed them everything. There's no change in that. No break and serve.
Meal schedule.
Normal meal schedule. All of that.
Just the buses will run a little different.
Buses are going to run earlier, but from 12 to give or take 1:30 will be time for the teachers to help process the kids out of the building, get the buses taken care of, get them something to eat, and get to training sites. On that day, we also have a job fair, and I'll get you the flyer. I thought I had it here with my stuff for anybody that would like to maybe pursue a degree in teaching, that maybe some of our subs, for instance.
There's some great programs that the district's offering right now. Yeah.
And the college has been phenomenal. We're going to have representatives from the college that could take a look at their transcripts. This is going to be a one-stop deal for them, so they wouldn't have to run around town. They don't have to take a day off work. And like I said, I'll get you that flyer.
Okay,
I shared that with the board last night, and I didn't get it back.
Good deal.
But that's a big deal
stole
for
your
us.
Paper, huh? Jeez. Savages. I'm just kidding.
I'll let them take it.
We'll make copies. $5. No, I was kidding. But that sounds great. And I imagine, too, if you're also looking for careers in all the other parts of the district, too.
Absolutely.
Food service or custodial or admin
maintenance
many other thousands of moving parts that is part of the RISD. You can apply at that job fair as well, too. But if you are, like you said, saying I want to pursue my teaching degree to get that, and this program is really, if you have degrees and other things that kind of, they use this to help kind of transfer that over, or while you're pursuing that degree and you're getting close to the finish line, need a little more help, talk to the district. They've got a lot of opportunities for that kind of stuff.
There has been so many things coming out from the state right now. If you, I joked the other day, I said, if you can make it through your first year of college, and that should be paid for too with some of the scholarships and things that the state has to offer. If I can get you into to even year 3, we ought to be able to pick you up into something and take you forward. So
and that's the thing too, is once you're in and you've got your bachelor's and things, take advantage of those things to pursue the master's, and so towards the dossier, so you can rise higher in levels and things throughout that's, my wife, she's at that point now where, obviously 25 years, but she went and got her master's or got help through special programs.
Sure.
So we got grants. And so basically she paid half price for her master's degree through various programs and things. And there's all kinds of stuff that available now. She's at the highest levels that she can possibly be because of her training and things that she took advantage of over the years. So
our salaries are extremely competitive. In fact, they're not just extremely. I think they're some of the highest.
Teachers
in the
are
state.
getting good pay now here in New Mexico. Say what I know a lot of people have issues and things about a lot of things in our state. but they did a good thing by
They
actually
did.
paying our teachers now, and they're now competitive wages. They're actually wages that are commiserate with the education. And I mean, sure, there's more things that could be done. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But it is a step in the direction of, hey, these are professionals. We need to treat them and pay them as such.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because quite frankly, we're going to lose all of them if we don't. Because smart people that know that they can do more and better, if people they're going to eventually say, I'm done with this, and I'm going to go do something else. And,
So I saw a news story last night with a really good looking guy that made a comment that we did have people not retire because they knew these salary schedules were coming,
Yeah.
and they thought they could take advantage for maybe a year or two. So
I might know someone like that.
yeah,
Pretty close with her.
no comment.
Well, thank you, Brian,
bet.
as always. Appreciate it. And anything we could do, let us know. And we'll see you next time. All
You
right?
bet. You bet.
All right. 8:58, quick